Star Wars finally made me scared of Darth Vader again. We've gotten a lot of Darth Vader in Star Wars in recent years. I mean, it makes sense, right? Vader is one of, if not the most recognizable icon from Star Wars. As cool as Vader is, there is a part of me that has felt like we've been kind of oversaturated with the character as of recent. However, the finale of Maul Shadow Lord brought Vader back in a way a lot of Star Wars just hasn't recently. Not just as one of the best villains of all time, but as the perfect horror villain. The Maul Shadow Lord finale really leaned into the horror elements with Darth Vader, which is something that we haven't really seen on screen since Rogue One. I don't think it's a hot take to say that the decision to really emphasize how scary Vader can be is a great choice, but unlike what we've seen before, the Maul finale doesn't just lean into the horror, but also turns Vader into a full-blown slasher villain. We already had gotten a handful of horror elements from the show so far, mostly from the two Inquisitors and even from Maul himself at the beginning of the show. So having the script flipped and getting an even scarier entity to appear at the end of the show is just perfect for a show with this tone. Following in the footsteps of slashers like Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees, Vader doesn't say a single word in the final 2 episodes of Shadow Lord that he appears in. Taking the silent killer approach with Vader was an unexpected choice, especially since in past projects like Obi-Wan Kenobi, Lucasfilm has used the AI program Respeecher to collect past recordings of Vader's voice to replicate the iconic voice of the late James Earl Jones. I think this may have been for a number of reasons, one of which could be that Lucasfilm has seen the negative sentiment a lot of people have had for generative AI recently, which yeah, generative AI sucks. Support real artists. Hi, Editor Carter here. Just wanted to add that especially right now with the landscape of Star Wars YouTube and seeing so much of these quote-unquote fan films that are really just generative AI slop, it's definitely more important than ever to support real artists. Okay, that's all. Back to the video. But this also could have just simply been the direction they wanted to take from the start of the show. Either way, we get an absolutely terrifying appearance from Vader to a level we haven't really seen since, again, Rogue One in my opinion. And following in the path of what Rogue One paved for the character, Vader is just an unstoppable force of nature in these episodes. Nobody, not even Maul, can stand a chance against Vader, and it's only from working together with multiple other Force users that anybody stands a chance to escape or even survive the Sith Lord. Very similar to many horror movies where slashers seem to be unkillable and their victims have to band together just for a chance to survive against an evil entity. The moment where Maul and the Jedi seem to have lost Vader while fleeing, just to have the jump scare of Vader's hand crashing through a wall right next to them like it's a slasher movie is just like, yes, this is perfect. That feels like something just ripped from a Halloween or Friday the 13th movie. In my opinion, this is how Darth Vader should be depicted outside of the mainline saga, as this supernatural, terrifying horror movie villain. And sure, we've gotten an abundance of Vader appearances in the comics, books, and shows, but in most of these other appearances, Vader doesn't really come across as scary. Powerful? Sure. Threatening? No doubt. Evil? Absolutely. But not necessarily scary. At least not in the same kind of horror scary like with what we saw in Maul Shadow Lord. This isn't a diss to any other projects, by the way. I think for the stories they're trying to tell, the way they utilize Vader works for those. And many of the characters like Obi-Wan who know who Vader is beneath the mask takes away a little bit of that horror element. After all, the #1 rule of horror is not to show what the monster is until you absolutely have to. And the same goes for Vader. If our protagonists know who the monster underneath that helmet is, it sucks all of the fright right out of the situation. Luckily, in projects like Maul Shadow Lord and Rogue One, most of the characters don't realize it's Anakin Skywalker behind the mask, allowing for a little more room to play with how we get to see Vader portrayed on the screen. A lot of these characters who encounter Vader are just kind of everyday people, like Lawson and Riley, who have no idea what Vader even really is. All they know is that he's terrifying and he's coming for them. Or at least Maul and the Jedi they're with. still just as scary. It might sound strange and like the opposite of typical advice for writing characters, but I think dehumanizing Vader in these situations like this is a far more effective way when using him as a horror villain. We've seen the human side of Vader, we've seen Anakin's struggle and torment of living as Vader. We can move on from rehashing the same old routine of Vader being a sad, heartbroken man underneath the helmet. Let's be honest, after Vader's redemption in Return of the Jedi and getting to see more of Anakin in the prequels and in the Clone Wars, people view Vader more sympathetically. While I think it's all well and good to flesh out characters to understand them better, I don't think we can ignore the fact that Vader is not a good person at all. We can't forget the unfathomable amount of lives that Vader has ordered the death of and also personally taken. Vader is a monster, and even if he was redeemed in the end, as long as Anakin is in that suit, he should be portrayed as a monster. And portraying Vader honestly as a monster makes him all the more terrifying. For a good while there, I was kind of burnt out on seeing Darth Vader appear in everything, wishing we could move on to other antagonists instead of revisiting the same one that's been here for the past 50 years. But after seeing this fresh depiction of the character, I'm not gonna lie, I'm more open to seeing Vader more often if they continue to write him like a horror villain. Some fans have been wishing for a Vader-focused series, and I don't think that would be a great idea if I'm honest. A series focused on Vader would put us once again closer to Vader as a character, and suck all of that horror out of the story, just from the sheer amount of time we would have to spend with Vader. If anything, I feel like a series on Vader would lean more into a drama, focused on the depression and anguish Anakin goes through after turning into a Sith Lord. And I don't know if there's as much to explore there as some people think, especially since we have so many books and comics exploring just that. But if they want to sprinkle Vader in some projects here and there, as this silent slasher type like what we got in Maul Shadow Lord, I would say I'm on board with that. But what did you think of the Maul Shadow Lord finale? Do you think we should see more of this slasher Vader in this horror villain style in other Star Wars projects? Or do you think we need a bit of a break from Vader in general? Let me know down in the comments. While you're down there, be sure to leave a ghost emoji so I know you made it to the end of the video. And thank you so much for watching. And the Star Wars Rebels video is on the way, I promise. I needed to talk about this after seeing the Maul finale, and the Rebels project is getting to be a lot bigger than I initially anticipated, but it is on the way. Hopefully the next video. Thank you for being patient with me on that. But that's all for now. I'll see you soon. And until then, may the Force be with you.